Freaka TV, Freak Up Studio, live. 2023 GSL Season 3.
It's been dark way too long in this place. That bright smile long gone been replaced.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to week 2 here of the GSL Codas. We're going into Group C in the round of 16. It's been a pretty exciting week for week 1 here. We're going to start this off with the ZVZ Dark versus DRG. Dark, probably the best Zerg we've got here in the GSL, and most likely the favorite to advance on into the round of 8.
Yeah, as we were talking about before the show started, I mean, Cure, now that Maru's been eliminated from the picture in that really kind of tumultuous day 1 of Group A with a lot of upsets, it feels like it might be Cure's year, and Dark seems like one of those players that absolutely has the skill to make it to the finals and deliver us with another TBZ. I'm looking forward to seeing how he's playing today, man. He's a mysterious Zerg. He plays kind of a wonky style.
Yeah.
He's not afraid of the late game. He loves his spellcasters. And, you know, given the new patch, like the changes to the Infestor and also these new maps, I'm really looking forward to how he's going to play these games out. Yeah,
you know, DRG, he's still pretty good at ZVZ.
Yeah.
He seems to be either really hot or really cold, depending on who he's against. But I think he is capable of maybe taking on Dark here. But the group's probably going to be tough for him regardless. Now, Dark seems to just be getting better and better and better. It does not appear like in any given season he has fallen off. He's looking inactive or rusty or nervous or any of the things that could be, pitfalls that a pro could encounter. He seems to be in good shape. He still has that hunger. So my bet for this is that it's going to be Dark taking this and then a real free-for-all to see who of the remaining 3 players can actually come out and survive. Because when I see the lineup of the rest of these guys, I think anybody can take it.
Yeah, it does certainly feel that way. I think that Dark coming in out of this one, if he can defeat DRG in the first match, he's going to have a Terran or Protoss, which he should be able to dispatch in that winner's match and just, book his ticket into the round of 8. But from there, really, things get a little bit messy. Of course, GSL here, we are crowdfunding this thing, supporting the prize pool, supporting the players. If you guys want to contribute, you can do so on Freaka TV through donating star balloons or on patreon.com as well. I think the $10 tier allows you to unlock the replays, which they say it might take a couple of days to come through, but so far this season they have been so quick in dishing out these replays. It's actually such a treat. I will get the notification on my phone coming home from the GSL that the replays have been uploaded. It's really fantastic. If you want to watch all these players, see how they actually plan their games, and we're only $4
away from the goal.
Yeah, that's crazy, actually.
If someone just gets a $5 bill out and puts it in there, that dollar's going to carry over to the next season next year. So, look, guys, this is kind of the state of things right now with Blizzard in a, I guess you could say, a transitioning period.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see, as Microsoft takes over, what their interest in StarCraft is going to be. But for now, it's really up to the community, to the fans, to people that are passionate about StarCraft and esports to support the GSL, and your support is appreciated. And this is kind of the direction a lot of things are going to now with Patreon, with subbing to people's stream channels. It's gotten a lot more grassroots.
Yeah, and I think it's good for the game too. I mean, StarCraft 2 has matured over the decade plus that it's been out to this kind of position where really we as a grassroots community, even with no publisher support, can deliver excellent content like this. I mean, ESL is still going strong, GSL is still going strong. There are countless cups that take place seemingly every single day. I'm tuning into streams.
Every day, yeah.
I'm watching them if they're in Korea, if they're in EU, if they're NA, if they're special, team show matches or Korea versus the world. There's nonstop content, and that wouldn't be possible without the support from the fans. So thank you, guys.
And by the way, if you want to come down and watch our show live in the audience, there's a link at the bottom of the screen there. You can get that. You do not need to be a Korean to get that. I get messaged that a lot, whether I'm streaming or I get a DM on Twitter or something. But get a ticket. You can't get in without a ticket. You can show up, and if there's room, buy a ticket here in the studio on your phone. But do that. We're not filled up right now, but as we get further along, there are days where it does fill up. So if you're traveling out here, maybe you're touring through Seoul, and you'd like to get a little bit of Korean culture in the esports sense, definitely make sure you get a ticket early just so you can absolutely get in and enjoy the show.
Yeah, it's a great way to do it. And here on Group C, Dark versus Dongregu to start things out, and Astrea versus ByuN as well. So Really an interesting group. I like that we have a little bit of everything in here. Going to get our first taste of ZBZ, I believe, so far in this GSL, and that should be a wild one with Dark and DRG, who kind of each play into their own style and their own strengths in kind of a unique way, which should be a lot of fun to watch. I mean, if I think of DRG in any matchup, I'm thinking of his Ling Bailing control. That can be ever so important in ZBZ. And then also Astrea, you know, the only other foreigner besides Scarlet who had a great showing in Group A to compete here. I know that he's been sick for a little bit, but he said, you know, I talked to him before the show, he said he's feeling better. He feels like he can give it his all today and deliver a good performance. And with the way that he's been competing online, he's looking good. But let's get started going into the first match between Dark. Oh, player introductions, excuse me. I was kind of thrown off by that. But yeah, Dark and DRG coming in on stage. Dark, I mean, this guy needs no introduction. He's constantly one of the best players in the world. Really a brainy Zerg, almost a Nest-T type Zerg in the modern era where, you know, you watch Dark play and it's not so much just his control, although his control is top tier. It's not really his macro mechanics, which, you know, frankly, from my outsider point of view, it seems like his weakest strength is his macro, but he is just so smart. He's so good at navigating the late game. He's very resilient. It's hard to kill him, particularly in matchups like ZVT. And that delivers pretty consistent performances, a lot of top 8s, a lot of semifinals and finals appearances, many championships, one of the best in the world.
And his opponent, DRG, look, this was maybe the best Zerg that we had in the Heart of the Swarm era. You know, such a powerhouse player. He is, for a little bit, you know, he had a hiatus here from the game. He's back now. He does occasionally have these moments of real brilliance here. I do think it is possible for DRG to win. It will be very hard, but his ZVZ is still solid. That muscle never really seemed to atrophy in his play, and he's also very familiar with Dark, so this should be a pretty fun, close match. Obviously, Dark the favorite to take the whole thing, maybe even the whole GSL, if I'm going to be frank with you guys, especially with Maro out of the picture. That was the big plot twist of our whole season to start this off. We went full-on Game of Thrones and killed the main character in the first episode. And so with Maro out of the picture, now there's a lot of other opportunities here for these players to try to move their way up the ladder and maybe take the whole thing. And now we're ready. We're going to go to Oceanborn for map 1 here. This is Dark versus DRG.
DKZ Gaming, Dark. Club NV, DRG.
All right.
Yeah, let's get into it, man. These two powerhouse players going at it. ZVZ, we always have to wait and see. Where is the fork in the road as far as the build orders go? Sometimes you'll have it where it's literally mirrored up to, you know, several buildings in, and there just isn't a whole lot to remark on here. One thing about Dark is he does seem to show a huge range of play. He can do, you know, road Ravager stuff. He can go into mutas. And it's very hard to ever tell what he's going to do. He also does oscillate between doing cheeses that seem almost unnecessarily risky for what he's going for, and then very conservative play. Drones and Roaches, GG.
That's so good, actually.
Excellent signs.
Yeah, DRG does love his Roaches, man. That's a great sign. I like this opening that DRG went for. It almost feels like a ZVP opening where he went for the hatch before Overlord, did an extractor trick to get out another drone, and then pops the Overlord and plays it from there. So this hatchery is going to be really quick, considerably faster than Dark's. Both players also going for the gas. Dark a little bit faster on that one, as DRG is just now slowly beginning to saturate his gas geyser. And I'm wondering if this means that Dark might be a little bit aggressive early with the Lings. As you said, he's not often one to shy away from going for early game aggressive builds in really any matchup.
Yeah. So now we've got to wait to see, you know, what exactly this game is going to be. You know, when you look at a player like Dark. He knows he's better. He knows there are a couple more Zergs in the tournament as well. So he needs to have a range of builds that he can carry out through an entire series if he's going to win the whole thing. Where I feel like if you look at Dark here, it is, DRG here, it's a moment where it's like, okay, this is kind of it. This is almost like the most important tournament already, or the most important part of the tournament, excuse me, already is here. I've got to come out, I've got to win, I've got to bypass this one Zerg player, and maybe I can squeak out in the winner's match.
Yeah, I mean, right now there's only Solar waiting for them in the round of 8, right? So potentially, unless Sue's able to qualify there on day 4 on Thursday, it might just be one more ZVZ ahead of them. And I think that you hit the nail on the head right now. DRG, whatever the best possible build is to deliver in this series, he's not going to hide anything. He's going to bust out every single tactics. But if you're a veteran like Dark, who, coming into this one is arguably the favorite to win not just this ZVZ, but this entire group, maybe there's going to be a little bit more mind games. Maybe he'll go for some more all-ins to try and, hide the way that he's playing in the mid game or in the late game, try and add some fog of war in terms of overall game planning in the series.
Well, we've got the deviation in the builds. We've got DRG hunkering down onto the 2 bases. He's got a dozen Lings making. He has the armor upgrade coming, and he's banked a bunch of these Zerglings in the back. Now, on the other hand, Dark is actually expanding out. He's stretching out onto the map. And so this could look like from the outside, with the turtling set up the way it is, that there's not going to be attack inbound for a while. In fact, the armor upgrade's kind of a red herring because it signals to Dark that there's plenty of time for him to macro up and get ready, when in fact this Ling attack is inbound. There's 14 more Lings making. We've got a ton more streaming across the map now.
Yeah, it's actually such a smart build by Dark. He built that Roach War in the front too, knowing that Dark would scout it, and then he just goes for this straight Ling flood. So a ton of Lings coming across that map. First Evolution Chamber does get canceled. DRG not able to breach into the natural, but that third hatchery almost definitely going to go down. And that was a really clever build from DRG, just really throwing Dark off his games when it came into the scouting. As I guarantee, as you said, the red herring of the armor upgrade coming through, the Roach War into the front, he was not anticipating this. And so now, for Dark, how is he really going to be able to hold on? He might be able to take more damage here, but this is very expensive, this Evolution Chamber wall in the front.
I mean, this is kind of wild. He still has it plugged up. The Queen is going to be taking a lot of damage. There are Zerglings that can still block off over here. As long as the Lings don't fully break through, I think there still is a real chance for Dark here. There's so many on the outside. They are all committed to...
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, is he going to get it out?
No, he's not going to get it down! The Evolution Chamber gets blocked. DRG flooding in. There are 8 Mutalisks in production, but these Lings are going to wreak havoc on the eco. And DRG, with a really creative build, is off to a great start. This might just be game-ending damage.
I mean, this is a lot. And I got to say, the mind game's really coming out here for DRG. He really sold a very different game here to Dark, and Dark took it. Dark accepted it, thought he was just going to be able to circumvent this tech, and there's almost no drones left.
There's actually 33. Dark did something insane there.
Oh, you're right. He had so many stacks.
He stacked 30 drones, that little gap on the mineral line, and what you can actually do in that situation is Dark, is you can pull all of the drones. If you micro them perfectly, you can spam gather on that mineral. They will phase through each other, and then you A-move. And most of them are going to be able to get the attack off on the Ling. So those drones fighting really cost efficiently, and that was a lot of damage done by DRG, but with this wall getting fully... Seeing units in a defensive role like this against Lings with a wall is kind of a unique situation, but maybe Dark has some chances to stabilize here, but still a ton of damage getting done. He's down 10 workers overall. Yes, he does have the Mutalisk advantage for now, but DRG going for a Spire of his own.
Yeah, and, no third hatchery as well for Dark anymore. So, I mean, the damage has been done. You're right, that worker micro trick was sick and actually bought him a little bit more time, but the infrastructure is very, very damaged right now, and it's hard for Dark to find much more to do with these Mutalisks out here. Once the spores are up and the Queens are out, the opportunities to really eke out additional damage with the Mutas really goes down.
Spire completing now for DRG. 1,100 gas banked up. Right now, Dark only has 10 Mutalisks on the field, so very soon DRG is going to be able to catch up in Muta numbers, and it looks like we're going for a Muta versus Muta situation here, which I gotta say is kind of surprising given the current state of the patch. Now that Infestors can pop, they immediately have energy for Fungal. Now that Hydralisks come online a little bit more quickly. Overall, Mutalisk play, it is a bit weaker now in Zerg versus Zerg, but both players gunning for it here.
But it almost seems like this meta play kind of makes sense versus the meta play of Dark, and that he just has another base with another gas and banked up that much more. And
right.
with less drones that Dark was left over with after narrowly surviving the attack, it just seems like it's an easy way to, you know, kind of win the game via a math problem of just having a superior number of mutas.
Another interesting thing to note here is that DRG is going for the air armor upgrades as opposed to the attack upgrades there from Dark. Knowing that he's going into a muta versus muta fight, just really wants to be able to capitalize on mitigating the damage of those glaives. Already +1 ground weapons, or ground armor, excuse me, here for DRG as well. So a lot of armor overall in the cards here for them. Dark still behind a lot of workers.
Yeah, and there's not an easy way for him to catch up. He's still about 10 workers behind, or just got to be about 10 workers behind. But pretty soon, DRG is going to be able to pull the trigger. It would seem like the way the timing would map out, he would basically hit it right around now, and I guess that's what we're going to see in a second, because this is the moment where Dark could start to soak up more gas on his end and maybe play a little bit of catch-up. But, you know, structurally, the defenses are very different from Dark. He doesn't have spore colonies everywhere, so these mutas are really at liberty to hit and attack anywhere that they see they can get away with damage.
I almost feel like I'm watching a Phoenix versus Phoenix PvP right now with the setups that both players are running. And now, Dark, for the first time in this game, his mutalist count is getting matched by DRG's. They both had, for a moment there, 24 mutalists on the map. +2 air weapons starting for Dark. DRG, after getting +1 air carapace, is now upgrading air weapons of his own. Upgrades relatively equal. I do give the edge here for DRG, though. His economy is still superior. He's been up pretty much 10 drones this entire time.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, Kenny got the closer out. He did the damage. He's hobbled Dark considerably. And so it's all going to be about, are you going to have enough to actually take the big fight? And this moment, the mutas are committed on each other. One of these players is right, the other one is wrong. Okay, it is going to be Dark that realizes he might not have enough. There are a lot of Zerglings here on the ground as well. And, you know, the mutas and the queens are going to be very preoccupied trying to defend against the mutas here of DRG. Some transfuses go down. Does Dark actually have enough to maybe tip the scale in his favor? And it looks like he is going to chase us back out. 8 more drones are killed. So Dark is continually oppressed here economically by the moves of DRG.
Yeah,
and DRG closes that game out with a win. GG, game 1. You know, we talked about the possibility of an upset. It's already happening.
Yeah, that was such a cool build again by DRG. I love that. I almost didn't catch on to what was happening because I saw the Roach Warren. I was expecting some kind of Roachling timing attack, and I'm like, huh, that's interesting. He's making all the links first. How does this line up? And then he just didn't stop making lings.
He basically invests in the optics of Roach Tech just so that he knows a player like, because, you know, Dark and all these other great Zerg players, they know exactly how many extra drones they could make and then still get away with defending. But if you think a Roach attack's coming and you're so much later, these links just come in there and destroy everything. So a pretty genius build that clearly DRG prepped for that exact moment. It already paid off. He's already halfway there. Can he do one more game where he comes out victorious? I mean, he probably won't use that strategy again today, but does he have another idea like that?
You gotta think he does.
Does he think that he can actually beat DRG, Dark here in a straight up matchup as well? We'll see.
He's got 2 games to play with, already up 1-0 here against Dark. 1 map win away from going to that winner's match. Let's see who takes it.
DKZ Gaming, Dark. Club NV, DRG.
I love this build we're seeing from DRG, by the way.
And there's an intensity in DRG's face in that last camera shot. Like, you could see he's very tensed up. I mean, this has already been a wild GSL. Like, Maru's literally the first player that was eliminated. DRG could win here. We might even end up with, like, the double trouble here, where DRG beats Dark. Maybe Dark even loses to ByuN or Astrea in the losers match.
ByuN absolutely could take him down.
Yeah.
ByuN's kind of a killer. But for DRG, this definitely feels like a must-win situation. He's been struggling a lot against Terran. Oh, I love this sign. Hi from Russia.
Yeah.
Welcome. Fans from all over the world here.
I think Dark still got a good shot to survive this group, but it's not a good start.
And DRG is showing that he did a lot of preparation for this match. That was really an ingenious build that he delivered.
I don't think I've ever quite seen that build.
No, that was, it caught me off guard. I was so impressed by it. Like, you didn't really notice until the Ling Flood truly came to fruition. What was at stake?
Yeah, I've seen Ling Floods where what they do is they just get the Roach Ward in the Evo chamber, but just even to try to get the armor upgrade to just sell that.
He finished the armor upgrade too. When he did that later attack, he had 1-1 on the ground. And you also have to consider in a Mutalisk versus Mutalisk fight, you know, the glaives, if the Lings are under the Mutas when you're battling, some of those glaives are going to bounce down and hit a Ling.
That's right. They can be glaive batteries, basically.
Yeah.
So you're actually absorbing damage in another way, too. A very different approach, and one that definitely caught Dark off guard. A lot of ZVZ does seem to be about finding the vulnerability of your opponent or finding your own vulnerability right in between early game and mid game.
Yeah, I talked to a variety of top Zerg players because I was really struggling to kind of grasp with the mechanics of ZVZ in terms of the mind games. And the consensus from whatever all of them said to me was basically the hardest thing to do in a ZVZ is to play a straight up safe macro game because there are so many variables. There are so many ways your opponents might just try to cut corners economically and then be able to get an edge on you in the eco war, or they might be able to come down with an all-in or some kind of timing attack. And that's one of the reasons why even when a player like Dark, for instance, is sometimes favored in a ZVZ, he will just go for the all-in even though he is the better player because it simplifies the game to a point where he can actually just navigate it with complete information. And so I'm wondering if he's going to mix it up and bring some kind of timing attack to the table on his own. But now on match point here against DRG, it's hard to call, and a fast lair coming through for Dark.
Yeah. Very quick layer, a Roach Warren at the entrance, and the missile attack upgrade is being manufactured here.
So Overlord's kissing a little bit.
Yeah, one Overlord tailing the other one. Now, we don't have a layer started yet for DRG, and we have Queens moving. Okay, no, he's going to send the Queens back. I was going to say, this is an odd moment to send 2 Queens across the map.
I thought for a second he might be trying to chase down an Overlord, but then I look at the minimap and there isn't one.
No, I think it was just a misclick.
Yeah, probably.
So, the layer is going to be done pretty soon here for Dark. The third base is being taken. A lot of ZVZs, it's like one guy takes a third base, the other does not.
This is looking very similar to the previous. It's basically the same build, I want to say.
It's just versus a different build from Dark. So Dark sees it, so he knows he has to start to plug up the entrance.
And this is a little bit less committed than previously. Remember, last time there were a ton more Lings coming across the map for DRG. We'll see Dark continue to wall behind this, but Roaches are out, so this will get deflected. I feel like this play, because DRG was droning behind it, is more about just really shutting down any potential third hatchery from your opponent.
Yeah, so this is like a kind of one way to describe this would be like layering inside of a best of 3. This build plays off of the first build in game 1 because on the surface it could look like, especially from Dark's perspective, oh my god, he's going to try to cheese me out with the same thing twice. He gets to force a cancel, actually drone up, get a third, and then play basically like a second type of iteration of build 1. So there's some real genius at play here from DRG. He's really come with a master plan. And right now, Dark is falling for it, at least to some extent. He's being forced to react and respect the moves here coming from DRG.
Oh, is he going to get that cancel?
Yeah, almost gets the kill, too.
A very good catch here for DRG. I'm loving the prep that he's showing in this series. Just the way these builds are, as you said, playing off each other and really branching out. Showing that as a baseline, this can bring quite a range.
Well, it just seems like Dark is hurting. I think Dark might have to come across the map and try to do damage right now and try to equalize this. We do have Roaches. I'm sorry, Roaches are actually heading back. I thought they were going to be making a beeline maybe to the third. But right now, Dark is playing from a bad position here. DRG up just slightly with workers. DRG up basically, well, he's close to even right now as far as army goes, but that means he basically can't be attacked, right? Because the guy that goes across the map is always going to be meeting with the reinforcements of the other player who can get them there more quickly because he's just defending his base.
Yeah, Dark back at home, adding in some Ravagers now. So I think that his game plan is going to be going for a Roach Ravager attack, probably with +2 weapons and +1 Carapace. But DRG should be pretty close to matching that. You know, he already has the first armor upgrade on the ground. He is getting the range attack upgrade, although I think it is a little bit behind Dark's +2. So there might be some window where Dark, with this Roach Ravager timing, should he choose to go for a timing, does have the upgrade advantage, but you know, it won't be too significant, I think. At the end of the day, really, what's going to matter is the macro behind it. And DRG, he's playing very safe after getting that third base. He's fully droning up. He's just droning up a modest amount. He did have a Changeling scout that got through to Dark's natural expansion at some point and got a lot of information. Oh, wow, Dark going for, not Drilling Claws, Tunneling Claws. I've been losing too many games to Widow Mines. I just see Drilling Claws everywhere.
It's unbelievable. Even they have Drilling Claws now.
Oh, that's a cool play, though. If this catches GRG off guard and he has like 2 or 3 roaches popping off at every base with a frontal attack, I mean, Dark might be able to whittle out and get some damage. I mean, the mass is so big right now for DRG.
The thing is, DRG has so much. I mean, where are your roaches going to be going to sneak around the map if you could just get clobbered by this massive force that is DRG? A pretty interesting trade there over the bushes. I think some good moves by Dark, but he could still chase us down. He's still going to kill that last Ravager. Does this seesaw all the way into a full-on attack here? I feel like this might be an overextension, actually, for DRG, but let's see.
Yeah, reinforcements are quite far behind, but still trading out quite well. It's only just now that Dark is really starting to get the favorable trades with the Concave there on the top ram.
Yeah, that was an overextension. I think he got a little bit too greedy.
I was wondering whether there might be a window there for DRG, considering that his economy was better and Dark was investing in Tunneling Claws and Burrow. But still, Dark able to defend, and now DRG a little bit on the back foot. Lower in the Roach count, the drone counts have equalized, and DRG also going for Tunneling Claws of his own.
Yeah. It's still 3-base to 3-base.
What's that?
I do think that DRG is actually a bit behind after the overextension. It's so important to know when to pump the brakes and when to lean in. Here come those burrowed roaches. He's going to fork these out to each of the different bases and probably going to kill a lot of drones. And I mean, we see 3 now going into the main. I think there's 2 over at the natural.
Yeah, 2 at the natural. Should be able to one-shot some drones. Is some economic damage coming in. I love this play here from Dark. I mean, these are so hard to chase down.
This is pretty beautiful because now at 12 o'clock, Dark is expanding. So he's really getting to kind of have everything he needs and also keep DRG up against the ropes here.
You know what's even, adding insult to injury on top of that is that Dark, when he tunnel clawed the roaches into the main base, he went right next to the spire of DRG. So he knows what tech is coming, and now he's throwing down a Hydralisk Den back at home. So not only did he kill, 7 or so drones on DRG's side of the map, but Dark also has a very good idea of the spire switch that's inbound. And, Hydralisk, they do come online a lot faster. I wonder if Dark is thinking that DRG might cancel this, and he's actually building Spine Crawler. So he also has Tunneling Claws on the forefront of his mind. Dark really just trying to prepare for every possible circumstance here. I love it.
Now, this is still playable from DRG's position, but one thing about Dark is if he gets this deep into a game, it's kind of hard to imagine him, giving the position up. He's pretty good at that balancing act of always staying ahead and trying to keep whatever advantage he can keep as long as possible. The Overseer is going to spot the Spire, by the way, and that's going to be just before 8 Mutalisks are going to hatch.
I think before that point, Dark did not make the Spore Crawlers. He did not make any Hydralisk Den because he knew the Spire was being built, but he also knew that DRG saw him scout it. And so there's a little bit of a mind game there in terms of, is DRG going to cancel the Spire? Is he going to allow it to complete and still commit to the Mutas despite the scout? And so I love Dark just going back in again with the Overseer, getting the confirmation before committing all of these resources to really investing in dealing with the Mutalisk. And as a result, DRG is just going to be a handful of Mutas. He's throwing down a Hydralisk Nest? Den? What is it?
A
Den!
Desk? A desk, right?
Hydralisk Desk. They're going to their office jobs, casting GSLs of their own. Yeah, DRG also just going to make a handful of Mutas and then switch out of it. I like that play.
So things quiet down a little bit here. It doesn't look like we're going to have more stealthy Roach attacks from Dark. You kind of have one shot to really do that, and after that, the player should be ready to be hit with that at any point in time here. So there's going to be spines and spores put down here at each of these bases. But both sides on 4 bases, maxed out. And we're going to go probably into a pretty long, drawn-out ZVZ here. I don't see any obvious advantage. And when I look at this, I don't even see any obvious move that one side needs to do to the other. I think it's going to be really a game of positioning here as we develop further and further.
Yeah, Lurker versus Lurker. DRG's Hive about halfway done now. And some pretty significant upgrades on the ground for both players. +2 missile attacks, +1 carapace. You can see our DRG continuing to pump out those upgrades while also roaming with these mutas. Should be able to get a couple of kills there on that hatch, but perhaps more focused over here on this fight coming in. Dark, I do like his angle right there, a little bit of a better concave.
Yeah, DRG, actually, I think if he can loop around to the top here, I think he's just going to have a better angle. This actually could be the start of something maybe even fatal here. There is another wraparound here at the bottom, and it seems like the roles are going to be a bit reversed here. The Queen's in the back for Dark, unable to really do much in aiding with damage. Harder for them to get their targets, but it seems like Dark thinks he can move in, and DRG agrees that this was maybe another mistake. He's going to have to back up. He does save the bulk of the Ravagers, which is important. Those are really high-value units in a fight like that, but more Roaches are going to be made. And look, DRG is up in supply again, both in workers and in army, although it's just slight in army. But he might try to make even more Ravagers and try to push through. We're basically seeing DRG locked into this layer tech kind of brawling Zerg style, where Dark is trying to just kind of get more advanced at it and get enough Hydras, but I don't know if he can quite accumulate enough in time. And so we're going to see another big blow come in here. Oh, and also some hidden Roaches over here doing damage to some of those workers.
Yeah, I like these plays by DRG, just using the mobility here to try and find angles of attack where the Lurkers are not yet present. Dark does not have those Hive upgrades coming in just yet. That Hive, in fact, only going to be completing soon. So any trade like this for DRG is going to be a pretty good one. Even getting surrounded here, it's not too bad because he can fight on both sides quite effectively and just really chooses battles. Bile's even coming in. Down on the Lurker is getting a lot of value, although Dark is going to be able to push this back. So it wouldn't be a Dark game without one random Swarm host getting built, by the way. It feels like every single late game Dark plays.
I feel like, yeah, it happens with him more than any other player.
Yeah.
The one random Swarm host moving around the map. It's like not a hero unit. It's not a critter either. It doesn't have any kind of real important role.
So DRG, he's only just now starting to make Lurkers, but he did have the faster Hive timing. And he already, there's the Swarm host, yeah, just the hero unit that Dark always brings to the table. But DRG, he's already gotten some of the upgrades, I believe, for these Lurkers. I think they already have their range upgrade right now. They're getting adaptive talons or whatever that burrow speed upgrade is called. And so there should be some plays that DRG is able to find as the Swarm host. At some point, you have to wonder whether this is an intentional play or not, sending these Swarmos across the map, because it does it consistently. Just shift-click around, going to try and find some damage at maybe the 4th or the 5th base of DRG, but...
A good usage of Burrow back there to keep those workers alive.
Yeah.
Well, DRG is growing a little bit more now than Dark. Dark has, I think, been forced Turtle, and that's why we see the 9 o'clock position neglected as far as expanding there. I think there's a world where DRG just keeps pressure around there, and it's hard to advance position with Lurkers. It's one thing to hold your ground, but when it comes to trying to unburrow and then dive in and push, that's a problem. And so this means that we might have to see Dark expand kind of towards 12 o'clock.
Yeah, 12 o'clock. I think you're probably going to want to go that way and then eventually maybe work your way back towards 9. But as you said, it's kind of hard before you get maxed out. Both players now, I think, with Seismic Spines. Yes, both players with Seismic Spines completed, so there shouldn't be any range play really being used to advantage here. 2 Vipers entering the field for both Dark and DRG now as well. Blinding Cloud can be a very important upgrade or ability to use. And a lot of these late games fights, actually 13 Lurkers for Dark to the 8 for DRG, so really investing more heavily into these high-tech units. The Swarm host just dies. Poor guy.
Another stealth move here with the Roaches snaking around the bottom of the map. Was there no spore? Oh no, there's spores. There's actually plenty of spores over here.
Yeah, you have to have them against tunneling claws like this, but really not a lot of other defense. DRG's gonna have to come back from the middle of the map to defend this position.
We should definitely point out that this base has been here for longer, but it has not been mined from, other than the gases. So it's not been utilized the same way. You know, this is a balancing act as well. How many drones in a game can you actually get? There's a point where you would have too many drones and they would eat up more supply, bring in a lot of money, but you wouldn't be able to ever have an army that's as big as what you need to take on your opponent. In the meanwhile, 9 o'clock.
Oh my goodness. That's a lot of Vipers, Tastes.
Yeah.
5 Vipers coming out from DRG.
Well, I think he's going to have a pretty good answer to this entrenched position that Dark just acquired over here at 9.
And I like what DRG is doing a setup at home. I believe he's anchoring, you know, 1 lurker in pretty much every single base to try and, oh, this is a nice catch too.
Oh, wow, yeah. Big connections there as those roaches are chased back out. But we've got Vipers as well here for Dark, although I think DRG does have just a little bit more.
4 for Dark to the 5 for DRG. Very high in energy too, so Blinding Cloud's gonna be clutch coming in. They do pop on those lurkers. DRG sieges up. And actually, Ducks coming in on the other Vipers. Do we have anything to focus them down? Parasitic bombs as well. The Hydralisks, unfortunately, there weren't enough of them. I think they might have gotten 1 Viper, but that's all.
Yeah, he's going to harpoon some of these lurkers over there. I don't know if this is going to allow him to crack this spot open. It was actually a little bit of a bumpy attack that he had trying to come in there, and now it's going to be trades here with the Vipers, harpooning some of the lurkers in from DRG. And so I got to say, Dark comes out on top in that fight.
I think if DRG just had a handful more Hydralisks, I mean, the abducts on the Vipers were so huge. If 3 or 4 of them got taken down there, I fully believe DRG would have been able to run over that position. But instead, you know, most of the Vipers escaping with very low HP means that Dark is able to manage the defense there with some nice abducts. And overall, look at the bank. A lot of minerals here for Dark. DRG a little bit more heavy on the gas as he just continues to catch all of these roaches moving their way across the map. I mean, really, you have to try and find some avenue. And also, I love, look at this mass.
Yeah. How many different upgrades could Zerg have? That's a lot of Evo chambers.
You know, even after the patch where like, it sucks a little bit less life out when you're consuming the buildings, Dark's just like, no, I want to set and forget this. I love that. You always see Dark making these plays too, like throwing in macro hatches when you might not necessarily need one, or all these evolution chambers for the Viper energy.
Yeah, he's very good at development.
Yeah, it's wonky a little bit, but that plays out quite well. So most of the last of the roaches getting traded out, only 4 left on the map. Dark just really trying to find any way to get value out of these high supply units that really serve very little purpose at this stage in the game.
So, I mean, from here, it does seem like there's a little bit more map presence from DRG. Like he could shut down a couple more bases, but Dark's positions, you know, the ones that he's actually claimed, you can't break in there and get anything done. I mean, like this attack over here, I can't imagine it's going to work. Oh!
Actually, there on the triangle third, getting some big damage in was DRG. A lot of critical abducts right there. And you got to start taking note of, you know, Dark's gas bank. It's very minimal. It's going to be hard for him to replenish those lurkers.
It's a very good point, State. I mean, the reality is that, you know, when you have this many bases, the minerals come flooding in. But if you're bouncing to 0 on gas over and over, the same way that Dark is, compared to DRG, I mean, DRG has some very deep pockets in this game. He's already at 1.5K in gas, and probably will be able to continue to bank up on that, which means that when they both have a big fight and trade out, what is remade on each side is going to look extremely different.
9 Vipers on each side. DRG burrowing to regain HP, but Dark is going to try and push the position. We'll see if any abducts come through. A lot of Hydralisks on both sides of the field. I mean, so many Vipers. Tasteless, wow.
Okay, you can see the kill there on that Viper.
It's just such a funny interaction. I know how important it is in like this late game ZVZ scenario, but I'll never get tired of Vipers abducting other Vipers.
Yeah.
Just trading places like musical chairs almost. It's comical.
Dark has an explosion of bases, by the way. 2 into the bottom left, 1 towards the top right, where I don't think that DRG might be ready for this tempo change here.
Big adepts coming in. I think 4 or 5 different Vipers getting taken out there. Yeah, actually both players going down to 4 or less Vipers when we had, I think, double digits before.
And you can see immediately the gas is all spent right now here for Dark.
Yeah, Vipers are so expensive.
Yeah. Now, that's great for DRG, but if DRG doesn't act on his opportunities to reclaim parts of the map, it's going to still hurt him. He's going to attack up here. I don't think that DRG actually has vision yet, or maybe he does in these bottom left bases. I guess there's an Overlord that can see that down there.
Yeah, and Dark might be caught a little bit out of position right now. The Vipers on the left side means there's no support here for these lurkers, so DRG going to siege up. Get some really value picks, and for Dark with this explosion of expansions, as you said, it's kind of hard for him to defend this position where DRG can either choose to hit the triangle third or that upper center base. But eventually Dark able to push him out. But again, these trades just keep coming in where, you know, lurkers and Vipers get abducted and eliminated by DRG, and Dark's bank, no matter how hard he tries to really, you know, deepen those pockets with gas, it's been a struggle for him. It feels like oftentimes he's on a breaking point where he's not able to replenish with the units that he critically needs. Very hard game to navigate, late game ZVZ.
Okay, this is a crazy interaction here. I think it's possible that with the surround that DRG has, he's not going to be able to pull anything off with this. I mean, it seems like that trade out was really bad.
I think Dark might have just broken his back.
Yeah, he's just so good at engaging in moments like that. DRG lost something like 70 supply in the course of 2 or 3 seconds.
Yeah, there was some awkward control there from DRG where he like the Hydra ball was almost completely blinding clouded at the ramp by the triangle third, and they were just eating shots from lurkers. They never retreated. I love the idea that DRG was going for, trying to set up with this flank by going also into the middle of the map, but Dark, when he's able to pounce on a position like that, I mean, he has such killer game sense with late game movements. One of the best micro zergs, I gotta say, in the business, especially in these very tricky, almost wonky situations, and he's gonna tie it up 1-1.
There's something remarkable about players that know how to deal with these interactions early on, but it's even more impressive when you get into the crazy late game. Like, I had this experience just watching Raynor when he was playing at Gamers 8, where like he had just insane usage of his Vipers and everything else to come in and close out a game that had gone on for an extremely long period of time. Like, he just understands how to deal with that. And that's exactly what we saw there from Dark. He just knew how to use a huge army to overpower an army of his opponents at the same size.
DKZ Gaming Dark. Club NV DRG.
So he's just now mined out that patch in the bottom, and it looks like he's going to come up here to the gold.
I was wondering about this. I saw that he wasn't going for the same extractor trick hatch first build as before.
So
and
right
now I see why.
Right now, this build is better for DRG. If you both go hatch first, but you're taking a hatchery at the gold base, it's pretty good. So now I want to see, with DRG having an upper hand early on, can he do what he did in game 1? I do think if this game goes over like 15 minutes or so, I just don't see Dark ever losing. He's just too comfortable in those types of games.
Yeah, he's very good in late game ZVZ, and I actually haven't seen a ZVZ played out on Alcyone yet because, you know, this patch has only been live for about 2 weeks, maybe a little bit more.
Right.
We got it quite late here on the Korean server, and so Dark going for the hatch and the natural expansion, DRG expanding and now transferring a ton of drones,
so
6 in total here to the gold.
This is a bit of a lull where he's not going to be getting an income. By the way, just want to point out, this isn't the craziest concept, taking the gold base. It's actually one of the earliest kind of common strats we had on these maps. So I do want to see, you know, how prepared is Dark going to be for this? Because anytime you look at any map like this, you got to go, well, there's always the chance they take the gold base, right?
And I'm actually wondering if that second Overlord for Dark is going to try and spot the gold, but yeah, here it comes. So he's going to find out about as early as he possibly can, seeing the creep extending past those destructible debris, and instantly from Dark, Ling's in production. A lot of Lings too. He is not putting that foot off the gas pedal.
Now, first of all, the proximity of DRG's gold base means the Lings are a lot scarier. They can get right up there. But there's also the dilemma of there's two very different locations to defend, right? Like sometimes you'll see these games where they over-defend the gold base, and so the player just goes right into the main and kills everything. So Dark also going to take a third base along with this, so he's still going to develop on his side normally, but he's probably going to create some opportunities for aggression. Now, the idea from DRG is you take the gold base, and with the gas that you already have, plus the gold minerals, that lines up economically perfectly to just crank out a ton of roaches.
Yeah, 6 now in production. It is Dark after he had a brief lull where he added in a couple more Zerglings, or a couple more drones, excuse me. He's now back into Ling production here with Metabolic Boost finishing up in just a couple of seconds. And it might be a little bit of a tight wire act here for DRG to try and defend the main base and the gold base, just as you said. Keep in mind, there is a Baneling nest on the field for Dark, and a lot more Links coming. So these next couple of moments are going to be really critical in deciding who wins this battle. I love these two Banelings on the right side, by the way. Find out those minerals. Send them around the edge. Might catch DRG. Not looking. On the minimap, those Banelings are heading now into the gold base.
Here we go!
Okay, 4 drones down. Those are high-value drones at that gold. And now the aggression hitting the main base. Instant surround on the Queen. DRG caught a little bit out of position as Dark's going to try and find the drones. Will he get the connections? There's so many Lings.
He's being really patient with these Banes. He's like not overextending with them at all.
It was value though. I mean, they basically ran interference on the Lings of DRG and allowed Dark Slings to basically clean up the majority of the drones mining in the main base. And so now DRG, despite being on this gold, he only has 4 drones there and 16 drones in total. Economy massively in the favor of Dark, but that's a lot of roaches on the map, Tasteless.
You see DRG with the raw strength on the map, but the fact that Dark can be in so many different places at once. Now the drones have been killed in such a number, it's going to be very tough for DRG to play catch-up, but DRG, it's just a train of roaches moving through the map, but they stop. They're not going to commit onto that third base. He's going to wait. He's going to make even more roaches. I saw, I think, 1 or 2 drones made, but instead, he's not going to go back and try to drone up. He's going to try to come here with a counter blow.
And no Banelings on the side of DRG, and a lot of Lings in his army, so might have to see some Baneling snipes from these roaches. That's a lot of Ling Bane. He actually gets a big surround right now on these roaches. Baneling's looking for the key connections on the front line. DRG, he pulls the Lings back. Those roaches taking a lot of damage, and DRG's like, okay, you know what, this fight in the front, it's going well, but I'm gonna go for the drones in the main base.
Yeah, the Lings are gonna come in now. And the roaches spill forward over here onto the third base. Some transfuses come down, but there's just so much to deal with. 1 Queen goes down. Note that there are no drones over at that third base, so there's not a lot of easy value targets you could try to wipe out. There's still a lot of Lings and Banes back at home. These other Lings over here for DRG come down and try to do some damage of their own. 21 workers to 17. That gold base looking like a pretty tempting target for a possible Dark counterattack.
Wow, what an explosive start to this ZVZ. I think Dark had a Baneling connection in his main base that we might have missed with the Observer because there were so many Lings just flooding in there. And then we get another glance back at it after the roaches cleaned up the fight at the third. And there are just a handful left. Not too much economic damage done there to Dark. And now 24 drones against 17, as you said. But that gold base means that the mineral income, it's only a little bit in favor of Dark. You see DRG hovering right around 1,000 minerals per minute. Dark around 1,100, sometimes 1,200. But more drones going down. I think those were on the gold base too.
Yeah, I believe you're right. I think one of them was almost killed off, but has just enough hit points to try to recover.
That really hurts.
More Banes are being made. And, you know, it's a moment where the Banes are going to be so high in number, the Lings almost can't play any kind of role. And the roaches, I mean, they could eventually take quite a bit of damage from the Banes here as well, but pretty good maneuvering actually by DRG. Creating some opportunities of his own over here. And now he could even be in range. Yeah, to try to come in here. I was wondering, would he go for the Baneling's nest or instead just try to get drones and even this out immediately? The Banes are going to come in. They might just have to connect onto the roaches, which isn't ideal. But you can see DRG's control is pretty good. I mean, the roaches are still alive. The Banes are still in pursuit. Oh,
big hits right there in the main base. And I think Dark might have done it. DRG with no economy back home, 11 drones.
That was sick.
He laid it all on the line with that last attack, but Dark able to hold the defense, and that was a really fun game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great series overall, and, you know, the favorite does come out on top. Dark does win, but, man, he had to work for it. And DRG, he's got some very cool ideas of his own that he is able to run with and basically make it, honestly, just a great ZVZ. And, you know, we haven't had a ZVZ yet this season, so that was a very welcome one. Dark's going to go down to the losers match. He's not eliminated yet. And, of course, DRG's going to go down to the losers match. Dark is going to go up to the winners match, where he's probably, no matter how you cut it, the favorite to move on first here into the round of 8. Short break, guys. When we come back, our American player, Astrea, versus our Korean player, ByuN. Stay tuned.